Hey, Warwick.
Hey, Nicole.
How you going?
I'm nervous.
I was going to tell you a time traveling joke today.
Ooh, I'd like to
But you
travel
didn't
through
like
time.
it. You didn't like it.
You've lost me.
Didn't land with you at all.
No.
Well, obviously I went through it and realised you didn't like it.
I just travelled through time and I got it.
Would you like to go back and re-record this beginning?
I want to go back in time and be smarter and funnier.
Yeah,
And maybe less grey.
I'll go back to telling you the jokes before we press record.
My brain was going somewhere else then.
Clearly.
Oh, dear. All right. You think we'd be pretty good at this joke thing? We're definitely not going to be joining the Sydney Comedy Festival or anything anytime soon, Coxie.
I'll take one for the team and say it must have been my delivery.
All right. So we have a guest today who fortunately has not hung up instantly at the sound of that. Brad Young, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm almost not sure I believe you, actually. It's, if you could, actually, a question, mate.
Through time again, maybe.
If you could travel through time, where in time would you like to travel to, mate?
Oh, good question. That's a good one. Backwards somewhere. I wouldn't go forwards. I think it's too scary going forwards. And what's going to happen with computers and AI and people taking over the world, computers taking over?
Yeah.
Probably the 60s. In
The 60s. Yeah, no.
sort of 60s or 70s, and the beach, Californian beach lifestyle sort of thing, something like that. That'd be
Cracking
nice.
cars in the 60s.
Malibu surfboards, plenty of,
That's it.
anyway.
Yeah. But anything.
Plenty of whatever you want in the 60s.
Exactly.
Anything goes.
Yeah.
Nice, mate. Nice.
Fun.
Now, Brad, you are a tradie.
Not a time traveller.
No, and I'm not a comedian. So, and your business is the Grout Guy.
It is? Yep.
You clearly like mould and soap scum and gunge and stuff.
Gunned.
Mate, it's funny you say that straight away. Like, it's one of the really cool things was actually getting it all off. And
Yeah.
going, like it's because it's, it's sort of like tiling background. Well, I was never a tile. I just fell into regrouting. But most of the guys are tiling background, so they're sort of like close to finishing trades, but they're not quite. They're there, but not really. And the job satisfaction, it is there, absolutely. Like, you go in and there's a blank canvas, and you lay a floor or a bathroom or a feature wall or something, and it comes out pretty nice. But if you go into someone's house they've been living in for however long, and it's mouldy and gross and whatever else, and then 4 or 5 hours later you come out and it looks like it was when it was just done. That's cool.
Like time travel, mate.
It is, nearly.
So you are a time traveller.
Anyway,
You're taking bathrooms back to the 60s.
Absolutely.
Hopefully not with the tile colour choices, though.
Not back. Well, they're coming back, I think.
yeah, you're right.
Basic colours and patterns and all sorts. So,
Paisley shower tiles.
yeah.
It's a vibe.
Nice.
Wait and see. So,
All right. So, Brad, let our listeners know, mate. What's your Back to the Future bio sound like? How did all this start out for you, and how did you come to be scratching mould out of people's tiles?
it's going through school, I was playing ice hockey, ended up in Canada in year 11 or grade 11.
Wow.
And played a little bit over there for a while. Came home and enrolled in TAFE to be a draftsman for 3 days. Literally 3 days. Like, I lasted 3 days. I couldn't listen to anyone. Because I sort of got it. Like, I'd left, but was got anyway. I'd had a job in between there in a bottle, and that was actually a lot of fun. It was a bit of a rough neighbourhood in a bottle at 17. You see a lot. It's
Oh, yeah.
Friday, Saturday, I shouldn't say Friday, Saturday. It was every night at that in that suburb. But that was sort of cool. And then ended up, it was a family friend. He was just regrouting showers, and he was called the Shower Man. He had previously built it up to 7 or 8 vans, and then he was pretty old actually. Well, he's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was 70 odd, I think, when I was working with him.
Wow.
And he just potted around. He really wasn't going after, he didn't want to break any records of how many jobs he could get done or anything like that. So I sort of learned it off him and learned it at a slowish pace, I guess. It wasn't wasn't too quick. He offered me, he had phone fax numbers back then.
Oh, back in the day.
Work orders coming through by faxes. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there the same boat. Like you're sitting next to the fax machine and it's making its stupid noise, and out comes the work order. Yeah, so that I bought one of those phone fax numbers off him because he'd moved from the northern suburbs in Perth to the southern suburbs. So I bought the northern number off him, and that's where the Grout Guy was born. So I was 17, as I said before, and then mucked around with it for at least 7 or 8 years, really. Like it was just me and a mate or two every now and then when I got a big job to help me out, and like it wasn't professional. It wasn't anything. Like it was a bunky old Ford long reach ute with the driver's door was falling off it, the welds falling through, and it's just anyway, it was a bit of a disaster, really. But bit of persistence and it was 2015 or 16, and then we rebranded. We got 2 personal loans out, one, and then I decided to buy a boat with one of them. And see that's fun along the way, I guess. That's all I'll say about it.
You still have the boat, Brad?
I'm on the 4th boat there. I like my boats, but that was it was a bit of fun back then. And as I say, rebranded, got the logo and the colours that we've got now, and just that's when we got serious. And fast forward 6.5 or 7 years, I guess now. And we had 2 or 3 staff then. We got about 100 now, 4 states, trying to make money. Every now and then that works, and every now and then it doesn't work. But the consistency is the big one. Like we went to a point a few years ago before we sort of expanded our reach where we got it really consistent, I guess, and that was cool. Sort of every quarter I could tell you what we were going to make every quarter. It was simple. We had a backlog. We didn't have to advertise. It was just easy. But it was only so big. So, and then we were like, right, how do we make this thing bigger and better and whatever else? So, couple of business coaches and in between, and balls to the wall and just go for it. So, and sort of where we are now. Few systems that broken in the meantime, and we tried to fix them, and I think we got something that's almost working now. So, I don't know if that was a quick bio, but that's the work bio anyway. Wife, 3 kids, another one on the way, or 3 boys, another boy on the way.
Your wife's a lucky lady.
Yeah, boys everywhere. So 2 cats that are boys. Mother-in-law that's currently living with us. Her mother-in-law, my mother, living with us there. Fine.
Wow, that's a hell of a transition from a kid who, am I reading between the lines, didn't finish school?
Didn't finish school, no. Went
the head of a company with 100 team members.
Yeah.
Doing grouts.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Just grout. I just around the office. If someone's pissed off, I'm just like, it's just grout shouts. Yeah. Like if a customer's pissed off, I'm like, we're just grouting your shower.
It's not the end of the world.
We use a grinder in between tiles, and every now and then, we're going to hit tiles, and we've got to replace tiles or replace a bloody bathroom every now and then, or whatever, right?
Happens.
And I get it. People are going to be pissed. They're going to be, fucking hell, don't ruin my bathroom. We'll fix it. Just we can't fix it in 4 hours though.
No.
See, that was their initial expectation. You got to manage those expectations pretty quickly then. And, you know, no one's bloody injured or, you know, gonna die or anything. It's just,
No.
it's just
It's just crap.
I love that saying, and it's not at all politically correct these days. And you know, I'm trying to be a bit more careful at my age of the shit that I say out loud in public, especially. But my 12-year-old daughter thinks it's hilarious. It's like, but did you die?
yeah.
You're like,
It comes to me, it's like, Dad. I'm like, did you die? She's like, no. So it's really not that big a deal.
It's just not. It's just not. And while people freak out about crazy stuff, it's just, you know, you owe money to someone owes you money, like just, you're still breathing. Like, you got a pulse. Who gives a shit? At the end of the day. That all everyone sorts that out.
Brad, that leads me to a question on that, and we're going to bounce around a fair bit today, I suspect. As things pop up, so warning listeners, strap yourselves in for a random pinball episode here. Mate, 100+ team members, 4 states. You seem to have a pretty, you know, I wouldn't say lax, but maybe relaxed attitude to, you know, like we're grouting showers, mate. Don't get your knickers in a knot. How do you find leading a team of 100 or so goes for you? Because you must have all types of personalities in your business, which becomes, from what we see, very challenging to set a culture and then maintain it. How do you find you deal with that?
Well, set the expectation that no one should take themselves too seriously. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And as you sort of alluded to just then, I don't take myself too seriously either. Because it's just, if you do, I think you can end up in a sort of like this perpetuating sort of like, I'm not look over. Like you think yourself, you're just too, you're better than other people, or I should say better, but you know that whole. I hate saying that as well. So hence I was like stumbling around there, like, because no one's better than anyone. Like we're all just human beings. So we just just whack together, right? But you know, you do get those egos in groups of people that are just they're hard to deal with. We manage them pretty quickly and get rid of them. Can I swear here?
yeah, go.
You already have, mate. I think you've dropped one F-bomb so far.
I'm trying so hard not to.
You've cracked the valve, mate. So just cut loose, buddy.
Oh, like, right, yeah. So the guys with ego, then fuck them all. Simple.
Yep.
Great.
And guys or girls, you know, like this, we got 11, 12 in the office. If you know, if there's someone, we had someone not that long ago, actually, and it was just a bit abrupt and lasted 4 days. Like, just interviewed really, really well, trialed really well. First bit of the training was like, we were like, this chick's going to be a star. Like, going to be one of the best we've got. And 4 days later, just 2 or 3, like, she sort of butted in a little bit, and we were like, nah, see you later. Like, just can't do that. It's you got to know that no one's better than anyone else, but there's still a pecking order, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's how I mindset. And it's just managing the expectations. That's it. So to answer your questions, managing their expectations of themselves, and then the managers as well. Like, well, I've never hired a manager. You know, like, we've just promoted internally, and
Nice.
I think sport actually helped me a lot. So playing hockey, had some really good captains, coaches through the years, and looking back, I think that's helped, that experience, I guess, of being led by good leaders that way, and seeing that, and especially Canada, I got exposed to some pretty sort of hot. I was there, like, there was an NHL lockout, like there was a pay dispute in 04, 05, and that's when I was there, and the place I was I lived in Canada was like sort of like a big holiday town. So a lot of them lived there. We've got houses there, like the NHLers. So then we're sort of hanging out with them at the gym, and it was cool because you got exposed to that at such a young age. So
Yeah.
which only happened. Yeah.
Brad, what do you think makes a good leader then, given that you've had that exposure? What do you think pulls it together and creates a great leader?
Humble. Don't think you're better than anyone. Full stop. That's I couldn't say that more definitely. Like if someone thinks of the, last week, wasn't last week I was in Sydney, but I was just doing close to the boys. So like, I literally rock up. I was sitting at Macca's one morning in Military Road in Mosman, if anyone knows that. So flew in Wednesday night, stayed at the hotel at the airport, got an Uber over to Macca's, called the salesman that lives in Neutral Bay, and I'm like, "Wait, pick me up at Macca's," and he didn't know I was there. And I just rode along with him for the day, and just got a bloody shirt on and run around, and you just make sure you fit in. You don't go to, I don't know. I came from that, I guess, so that's made it easy, and I really like sort of going around and talking to customers and being on the front line. I think that's really cool. I think the disconnect from some leaders that shouldn't do this because it's not that at all. It's more this way. Contradicting myself with doing that sort of gesture, but good leader, I think, is always in touch with the customer, like that human sort of interaction. Yeah,
Brad,
Politicians could learn a thing or two from that.
they have more to learn than they could possibly manage.
Yes.
Brad, we hear a lot of business owners, especially tradies. Obviously, Coxie and I only work with tradies, and particularly from the guys who have been on the tools, and then they want to transition to being off the tools more because that's what it requires to be able to grow and manage a business and a team of people, as you know. But there's this stumbling block of guilt for a lot of them when they start to spend less time on the tools. They're, sending people out to do the hard work, in inverted commas. Did you find any of that sort of guilt tripping in your transition?
I think there's two ways there. There's the sort of thing about there's the guilt from like customer making sure that the quality's there, and then there's the guilt of like, I'm sending someone to go do the work that I could do, and then that's money I'm giving them, and I could be taking that to give to my family, and whatever. There's I think there's sort of two brackets here. The first one with the customers and quality, cool. I get that. It's a hard one to manage, but then I hate to. I'm going to admit it, but anyway, when I hired guys that were better than me at the job, I was like, why would I ever go?
Yeah.
So they were quicker. They were better. There's always things that they're working for me at that point. So like, they might not clean up quite as well. That's part of the job. Don't get me wrong, but if they're doing the job in 20% less time, that's just as good or even better than what I would have done. Then they can clean up for the 10 minutes, and that's just a bit of slapping them around a little bit, or spending time with them on the tools, so which is fun in my eyes. And then the second one, which is harder, is you take a pay cut between being on the tools and then getting to a point when you're off the tools and you don't have to go on. Well, if you're like for me, I was on the tools and I had 5 others, I think. So there was 6 of us on the tools at one point. And then we wouldn't have made the same money, like me and the wife, till we had 10, probably. So we had to make up that gap of me being off the tools. And then even then, like, I would still go do a job. Did I have to? No. I don't know. I was really slow transitioning from being on, like, I shouldn't say slow, like I sort of made the cut where I was like, nah, I'm not going to do any more work. But I always had stuff, like I had a Hilux for donkey's years, and always had stuff in it. Always had all the grouts and the silicons, whatever. And I always used to, it was a mess when I went forward driving because it was just bounced around in my head. I sunk a Hilux actually with grout in it which was that was an older Hilux. So it was anyway, different story. But
they're not actually unbreakable. We have to write a complaint letter to Toyota about it.
no, we got to work it again. No, we got to work it again. So yeah, nearly unbreakable. It did have a death knock when I sold it. I sold it for $1,000. Someone had to put in your engine in it, but anyway.
Dad, what made you slow? You said you were slow to transition.
Because I kept wanting to go back, like that guilt factor. I think it was the guilt of the money. So, everyone's done a cashier too. You probably shouldn't promote it too much, or whatever. But yeah, there's any of the cashiers I just go to.
Yeah.
Why not? Because I don't have to pay anyone. You don't. It's like you're just doing it for your mate at that point. The money never touches the business. Whereas if you got to pay someone to go do that cashier, that's sort of not on in my eyes. So then it's got to go through the books. So maybe that a little bit in the beginning, but was a slow. I guess I made the point to get off the tools, but I did a lot of quotes for a long time. Mm-hmm. Kept doing that for ages, like years. I mean, 3 or 4 years. I was dribbling and doing them, and I should have just cut it. And I think if you do, you end up it's a harder transition, as in, you take that bit of a hit for a few months or whatever, but you're out of it all of a sudden. And we've learned that actually expanding to different states. So in Vic, we used to send guys from here to Vic, get them an Airbnb, because we had so much work there. We got layers from day dot. We didn't have the guys.
Yeah.
And I used to go over there, and my mate used to live mate/business partner over there, lived out in Mount Dandenong, if anyone knows what that is. And like going to the other side of the bay for a 7 o'clock job, well, you got to leave at 4:45. And it's just, well, if you leave any later, you don't get there till late. But if you leave at 4:45, you're there early, just because the traffic is just, anyway, Melbourne sorted it out. Get the cross-city tunnel going, mate.
Make it easy on poor Brad.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't live there, but used to have to go from the airport to out east, I'm like, give me that bloody tunnel.
Yeah. Especially after the flight across the country, mate.
Yep, absolutely. So, So Melbourne, we were doing that a lot and going back and forth to do the work and get on the tools and this. Not that I was on the tools here, but we're going over there and working a bit. Sydney, I did one job there. I've done a job in every state, but that's only because I did a job in Queensland 2 weeks ago.
Was it a cashy, mate? Was it a cashy?
No, it wasn't actually, buddy. It was a freebie even.
Oh, worse.
We went there and it was just like, because a bloke had missed a little bit of silicon, because all he did was silicon the bath up instead of like regrouting the whole lot. Because like, we can't regrout these tiles, blah, blah, blah. They're just chipping. And we got there and the tiles were all chipped and there was a couple of marks on them and stuff because someone had regrouted it before. And I just made a dog's breakfast up. And I was just like, I was there with Cam, business partner. It's like, mate, let's just grout it. Like, it's not going to take us long. Like, we'll just rip the grout it and do it again. And it looked at me in bucks. Like, we can't do anything about whoever chipped the tiles or scratched them before.
Yeah.
But at least the grout looks brand new. So, and they were going to sell the house anyway. So they just needed to tie it up and make it look good. So, anyway.
I love what.
But yeah, Sydney, Queensland, haven't really done any jobs and it's worked a lot better. We got to a point where we got like 10, 15 guys there in each state and going well. First, in 12 months, 18 months sort of thing. Sydney, or New South, we started right in the middle of COVID. And then, who was it? Gladys that said, no construction work at all for weeks.
Yeah,
I'm sure plenty of guys in Sydney that were just like, that was just shit for a while. For a young business and we were spending money on advertising. As soon as you commit to advertising, you can push it out, absolutely. You can negotiate. Everything's a negotiation, isn't it? So we did a little bit of that, but we had the money there and committed to spend, so we had to spend it, which is fine because you end up with a brand name in the city, and it's obviously the biggest city we got, so it's an investment for the future.
The philosophical way to look at it.
Or another.
Money down the drain.
Yeah, exactly.
Brad, how did you make the decision, or why did you make the decision to expand into the other states?
I fell into it. So we were going to franchise many years ago. The franchise model required us to put our prices up sort of 35-40%, like immediately, for us to make any money. And I didn't want to do that, so we didn't. And it was one of my best mates. He was like, he's from Melbourne. He's like, hey, I'll buy the Victorian master franchise off you. Like, that's, he was like, yeah, I'm in. He Rio for 10 or 12 years or something, and just had a gut full of being away every other week. And so I had to break it to him that we weren't going to franchise, and he just didn't accept that he wasn't going to be part of the business, to be honest. So we came up with we've got like a licensing model now. So he owns nearly half of it, not quite. I'm selfish enough that I've kept control of it. But yes, he's now Melbourne Victoria and Queensland, sorry. And it's brother-in-law that's in New South. But New South was actually a business coach that sort of went south. She wanted to be involved. And then, yeah, obviously for one thing or another didn't work out. But yeah, New South's been a tricky one. But the others, that's how it sort of came about. It was a mate who wanted to be involved. He's obviously we were making a buck or two out of it. And I was home every night. He was making good money up in the mines, but just, he was FIFO in Melbourne for a long time. So he'd stay at our house, day in, day out. I go fly in day, fly out day sort of thing. And then he was Rio paid for those flights for a little while to Melbourne, but then they stopped it at some point, and then he's like, nah, can't. So he was booking these flights months and months out, and he became like the best. Well, he was just such a shark at booking these flights, but it got to a point where, and that's how Melbourne came about. So Sydney then Queensland. So yeah.
So Brad, how do you manage the other states, given that you have the master share still of the business and your licensing arrangement? Like, you're taking what sounds like a conversation between a couple of mates and turning it into a professional organisation. How have you done that?
I'm going to go back a step. I met Cam at the pub at the OBH as well. Just randomly one night. And then we were in each other's wedding parties and everything else. Anyway, they give them equity. So that was the big thing. I didn't. So there's a whole lot with the franchise model. We were going to that to go, right, we've got these guys who don't give a shit, and we've got these stupid callbacks that are like, oh, my tiles are dusty, or there's footprints in my house. I'm like, come on, guys. I'm like, right, how do we give them ownership so that they don't do this?
Yep.
And we decided that wasn't a good idea from the franchise, obviously. We just tell them, well, we just asked them nicely, and we've got that under control a little bit better. Give them skin in the game. So obviously they had to, I set up the business in the other state. I then operate it for 6 weeks or so, operating, but not, we're trading from a tax point of view.
Right.
But we're not operating as in we're not going out there and doing jobs or, spending money on advertising or buying stock and getting leases for warehouses and all that sort of fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I sell the portion to them. I set that up and then sell it to them. So then they've got that capital that they're putting in is how I expand it. Like it's their money that they're doing with this. It never really cost me a cent in the long run. Except for New South, we've had to throw a bit of cash in there, but that's only because of, get slacked with COVID for 2 years, and don't start a business in COVID. That's service based. You have to go out all the time for.
Physically go out. Good lesson for next time we have a pandemic.
Yeah, next time around. But no, that's how to manage. Like that's how we manage it really well, actually. So it's, if the business isn't making any money, obviously they're not.
Yeah, of course.
And they take a wage because they're the state manager in that state or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the wage for a state manager or the dividends for the profitable business owner, there's can be a fairly big difference there. Yeah. And obviously you don't go in buying a business to to just dawdle along and leave you. Well, you can, but
Sure.
If you make your life a little bit more comfortable, money doesn't buy happiness, but it's a lot happier with it, I guess.
Oh, yeah. It can solve a lot of problems, right?
Yeah. So, that's I'd say I nearly do nothing,
Yep.
from each state. I'm there every other month, but, so play ping pong and hopefully not lose too much at it, basically. And have a yarn for us. It's connecting with people on a human level. Going back to the whole, the whole leadership, what makes a good leader. Don't just bark orders, just go and have a yarn with them, have a beer.
Nothing better than a beer with the boys, except if you're a girl, and then it's not quite so fun. Brad, I guess the connection and the management of the teams that go with each of the states, how involved are you with that? Or is your direct involvement mostly with the state managers?
State managers. So we've got state manager, head of Grout, and then the boys in each state. We then have a chief of staff, ops manager, and then all the Grout gals, call them. And we've sort of got desks. There's everything's run just out there. And there's like a group of four. There's 3 stations of 4 desks, and they run the different states. We've got we don't call them. We did, and then we didn't. And now I think we're back to it. So we've got like state-based groups of girls, so they concentrate on that state particularly.
Yep.
And it just helps. Like there's a Bayswater in Perth, Melbourne, or Victoria, and in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So like, those sorts of things are just they can be a head fuck for the girls. So just
Absolutely.
it's yeah. So that's how much involvement I chat with the girls I try to every 3 or 4 weeks. Just like a chit chat around the room, and they just come in here and bitch and whinge about each other. No, they're fine.
Bitch and whinge about you.
Pretty much. No, it's all pretty good. Just to say, you just got to connect with them. Otherwise, it's what are you doing? You're just going to work, and it's all boring, and the boss is dull, and he's just a dickhead. Like, well, he is until you get to know it. People fill in the blanks, don't they?
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah,
Make up their own story if you don't write one for them.
that's it.
Brad, you've grown from just you to 100 odd people involvement, 4 states. We see a lot of people, I suppose, that go on the growth path. They get to a stage. For some people, it's the 5th employee. For some, it's the 15th. For some, it might be the 75th in your case. But they get to this stage where they just go, fuck, it'd be easier if I just went back to being on my own, or just me and 2 blokes or something. Did you go through a period like that?
I still think it.
So what stops you from actually doing that? Like, what keeps you going in a forwards direction instead of back to the 60s?
I've got like, my head's fucked. I just keep thinking about way into the future usually. So right now we've built this system that's end to end. So it's like from web lead or even like Facebook ad, Google ad, all the way through to like when someone pays and follow ups and what they say, and we see everything, which has taken 3 years and shit ton of money and everything else. But it's like all we're doing is grout. So we just sort of perfect this like niche little market over here. Can we do it in other trades? Don't know. Can we white label something like that and offer it? Like a bit like a Aeroflow or Service Rate or Simpro. Or there's so many of them out there. There's so many of them out there that haven't really connected with a lot of the big real estate companies, like working with bigger trade companies because they can get a faster turnaround.
Yep.
And there's Bricks and Agent have done it half well, I think, where they've gone tradie, real estate, tenant, owner sort of thing, like the 4 personas, and then how do you get all those together? And so that's sort of like my big idea without giving it away. Well, I've just given it away and all, but
we won't tell anyone.
The more people that know about it, the better it is. Because I think, something will happen, whether it's me or someone else, who cares? But someone needs to put all that together.
Yeah.
And if they can. So what keeps me going? I don't know. It's problem solving. That's what keeps me going. I like solving problems. And if I just go back to go on a regrout someone's shower or tile a splashback or something. Like it's too easy.
You've solved that problem.
Yeah, I can do that. So what can't I do? Well, I don't have a business with 120 employees. I don't have a business with 150 or the business out at 100 isn't as profitable as what it was at 70. How do we do that? That's probably that's the big one right now. So, although we have just come out of COVID, and there's I'll give myself a little bit of a break because of that. But
few external factors, mate.
Yeah, a little bit. And then my accountant goes, "Oh, we couldn't have seen it coming." I'm like, "Well, at some point it was going to stop."
Yeah,
I kicked myself because of that. I don't think I'll be the only person doing that, but anyway, here's what it is. So crack on. Yeah.
Brad, are you noticing? So we've just done a couple of podcast episodes about fear and how certainly on the eastern states of Australia, there's a lot of fear around recessions and whatnot.
Yep.
And you've got this really interesting perspective where you get to see it from almost the cross-country viewpoint of what it looks like. I'm wondering if you're seeing shifts or change on the east that you're not seeing over there in the west, or are you seeing it's all very much the same? What's the experience from your point of view?
It's fairly similar. I think there's definitely more disposable income in WA and Queensland than there is in Vic or New South. However, Vic, we've built a really good back. Like there's a pretty good backlog in Vic for us now. And when I say backlog, I think there was like 600 quotes or something that were booked in. And it's just like, obviously we churn through them pretty quick, but we'll try and get them done in a week or so. But so I guess if you're doing those numbers, like people, there's going to be enough people to say yes anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can comment much more than that actually. Well, yeah, there's definitely more cash out in WA and in Queensland for sure. We went through a stage during COVID. Didn't matter what number we set on the quote. People were just like, "Yep, just do it." Like Victoria, we'd only just implemented what we call phone assessments, probably 6 months prior to COVID hitting, which is great because in Victoria we got the exemption from the government after many phone calls to them, but in writing at some point when we were like, right, we need this in writing that we're, it's water ingress, right? So it's got to stop. You can't keep showering in a shower that's leaking. It needs to fix it. So we got to that point where the government were like, yeah, it's okay for you guys to go on with emergency or whatever they classified it. So we were just doing phone calls. So the quote guys could get through 35 in a day instead of 15.
Yeah.
And then all of us, like you create gaps get filled.
Yep.
And so we just 5 guys were just ripping through this quote every day. It just didn't matter what we said. Well, people were just like, yep. And it was a fucking cash cow for like a good one for a long time. And it still is in a way. But we just there's always system issues are fun to deal with, especially when they give someone a little bit longer for a job and it shouldn't. And then they can't get another job for the day. All of a sudden, band averages plummet.
Yep.
Percentages blow out, fucking whatever in that month. But that's, it's, I think overall, anyway, I think it's, I don't think we're going to see it much worse than where we are now. I think it made a little bit more pain, but not too bad in my eyes. And we're actually, we're a service that has to be done. It doesn't have to be done. So there were different like maintenance plumbers or sparkies, where, if your sewer blocks, if your 3-year-old puts rocks down your inspection pipe, you need it fixed.
Speaking from experience, Brad.
Archie, my 3-year-old, if you're listening, stop planting rocks down the bloody sewer pipe. Anyway, it's a nightmare. It's 4 meters deep. It's been there for 2 weeks. We've had 4 plumbers out. They can't get it out. A robotic cutter. Someone suggested that, but then the water corp that won't work. So we're very reluctant. Anyway,
what a nightmare, Brad.
But you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
So they've got you over the barrel. You've got to pave it. You've got to get it done. Whereas if it's a leaking shower, it's wetting the wall a bit, or it's a little bit of damage there. Over east where everything's timber, it's worse. Obviously, like it's more urgent, I guess. Over here where everything's slab and brick, it needs to be done still, but it's just not as urgent as I say. So Yeah, we've got this. I keep telling everyone, we're slowly getting busier. I've got this. There's a stage called quote approval. So it's when the quote's been sent to the customer, but they haven't accepted it or they haven't said no. And that quote approval stage is the highest it's ever been. It's quite interesting. Or, the highest count.
Yep.
We've ever had.
A lot of potential in that list, though, isn't there?
There's a lot. Hit the list. There's plenty of people who say that. So
Brad,
we don't want to get it.
But for someone who could appear quite relaxed and casual, you actually have a brilliant grasp on some of the real essentials, clearly, because otherwise you wouldn't have a business the size that you do. But it could be really deceptive to see your relaxed, casual attitude and think, I really don't know how this guy got it from just himself all the way up to 100 team. But you have a fantastic grasp on, even though we talk a lot about productivity and the impact of productivity on your profit line with our client base. And it can be a hard concept for them to really grasp onto or find the key metrics that they can measure against. Whereas you seem to have, you're certainly languaging it really clearly as you discussed through some of those things today. I presume you didn't know that when you were 17. That's something you've had to learn over time. How did you learn it?
So my family always had a business. They were farming and then in the airline industry. Just small stuff, small mining stuff. I think, and both of those are probably pretty cash heavy, right?
Yep.
Farming, you got to put a couple $1 million in the ground and then hope it rains.
Yeah.
And make sure your numbers are right. So you've got something left over. Come Christmas time and harvest. So.
Right.
And then planes, if anyone's got any experience with planes, like they're cost an arm and leg, and then you got to try and make something at the end of the day as well. So from rev per time period, like we look at rev per hour for each one of our guys, and we do that weekly. We've actually got a graph where we can look at it live these days, which is do we know, because you've got a job that didn't get completed and all it needs is a clean, or you've always got to look at it a little bit. It's a lagging indicator, so you can't look at it to real time, I guess. But that's probably where I sort of first got the idea from. Was Dad bitching about stuff, I guess, when I was little, and me just hearing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's been a few people on the way actually that have helped with that. I still pay the franchise consultant, or the people we went to help us to franchise. I still use it. She comes in twice a month. She's an absolute stickler for process, and I'm not. I hate it. HR. We don't have a HR department at all. No. I got a bloody good employment lawyer. That I have a beer with every now and then, which is a good way to go, I think. And it's like, if you ever need to talk to people, just go and have a beer with them. That's a great start. Yeah, it just helps, I guess. So I can just give them a call if there's too big of an issue. But we've only had a couple over the years, and just say, as long as you don't hire too many dickheads, it's fine.
Exactly.
So metrics, I don't know. Metrics is probably that. A lot of reading. I read a lot when I don't read much now, actually, but I did go through probably 3 or 4 years, and I was reading a book a week. I listen to the odd audio book, the odd podcast, but really only I try and find guests that I know or know who they are, and then listen to them. Or someone that's recommended something. That's a nice way to go about it. There's so many of these things now where you can relate, I guess, or like similar businesses, or if I find it like plumbing maintenance and what we do, pretty similar in a way. So plumbing maintenance jobs, they want 3 or 4 jobs a day, and they usually want a couple of grand a van. We're pretty close to them from how we operate, and just a quantity side of things. So I don't know. But a ramble forever, really.
It all sounds pretty straightforward, mate. You just you get yourself a shitty old ute, go do some work for people, and next minute you've got 100 staff and you're covering the whole of the country.
Yeah, just
and full of boats as well.
Yeah, well, I'll sell them along the way, don't worry.
You're not collecting.
Yeah, but I am, and then you go,
upgrading.
nah. I fucking don't need this thing because it's cold. You flog it, and then you get bored in summer and you go, oh, I really need a boat. It's the worst way possibly.
Got to buy.
I don't learn from that lesson.
Someone should start a podcast about 10 reasons why you shouldn't buy a boat or something.
Yeah. And then all they'll do is talk about 10 reasons why you should buy a boat.
Yeah. Brad, I really want to ask you this question. It's a question I've been asking for many, many years on this podcast. If you had 1,000 trade business owners in a room, I'll make it a little more specific. 1,000 trade business owners in a room, what's one piece of advice you would like to leave them with?
If someone really gives you the shits, don't worry about it and don't give up because of it.
Nice, mate. I like that.
I don't mind it either. I don't think we've ever had advice like that before.
Haven't heard that one before, mate. That's good.
Too many people give up. That's
Yeah.
what I'd say.
Yeah.
Too many people like, fuck this, I'm just going to do the job.
Yep.
Well, I reckon 3/4 of the guys we employ have been self-employed before.
Wow.
Wow, hey.
And I get it. You know, like you work, you get a tax bill and you're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I get it. Well, payroll tax is coming up. I get it. It's the day after my birthday.
Nice.
Shit,
Happy birthday, mate.
yeah, no shit out. So about every year that it's about Christmas time, I call the accountant. I'm like, right, what's the estimate? Because we've got to start saving. We've got to start saving to pay a tax bill.
You're just such a good citizen, Brad, that you're helping prop up the Australian economy
You are.
Yeah, right.
all by yourself, mate. You can feel better about that, mate. Maybe you should name your next boat ATO or something.
Yeah. Well, there's that Instagram channel, Fuck the Tax Man. It's all about guys going fishing. I like it.
I think you just got all of our listeners over there immediately.
Yeah. We should get them on the podcast next.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I should have hit them up first. No, I need to
Few tips for you. Mate, before we let you go, because I'm sure you got lots to do with 100 people to keep in line, mate.
And 3 boys.
Or maybe a couple of quick cashies.
Yeah.
What's next for you and the Grout Guy?
Get a stable, number one. We're close to that. We're out. So we want to do that. Maybe it is a recession-proof business. I know it is. We've had close calls before, so we'll manage that. What's next? I don't know. Watch this space. There's a few business owners that we've got that are some are software, as a sort of half teased a little bit before, but whether we go that route or not, I'm not completely convinced on it because it's a rabbit hole. But if we can get the idea to a point where someone will run with it or help you run with it, and I've just got some sort of a quiet side involvement to it, maybe. But grouting wise, we build the other states up, like the other 3 states there. We got a pretty decent, I think, market share in WA. I think we can, if we're the 10% state, fuck, we got a lot of growth over east. Put it that way. New South especially, biggest competitor in New South. I think they had about 70 vans on the road. We got 11 currently. So yeah, there's a bit of room there. So yeah, watch out Sydney and the Eastern Seaboard, I guess. And if we get anything else off the ground, that'll be fun. Maybe sideways, maybe plumbing, maybe electrical, but there's a lot of guys that do that and fuck it up. And
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some value in staying in your lane sometimes.
yeah, well, they make money, but I don't want to be that guy either. Like rocking around and all of a sudden you get a rap for, you're charging people arm and a leg for something they just didn't need to be. So
Yeah. Nice, mate.
yeah, watch this space.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you whenever we're in Sydney, mate, and grab a beer by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
Nice, Brad. Well, mate, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to hear your story and learn a bit more about what you've been up to, and I'm sure our listeners will get stacks of value out of that, mate. So thanks heaps for your time, buddy.
Thanks, Brad.
No worries. Appreciate it. Thanks.